Hello and welcome to Chip Advisor. Yes, hello there. I'm Phil. It's been a while, but the temptation of talking about apples was too much, so we needed to come back. I am here with Lewis. How are you, Lewis?
I'm doing all right, Phil. Blessings, friends and listeners, I should say. It's been that long, I've forgotten. I'm very excited. I've just read the news that San Marino have just won their first competitive football match.
But I think it's their second, but their first since 2004 or something.
Okay. Well, yeah, I was very excited by that, having been drawn with San Marino as my Eurovision contest country in the only time I've ever watched Eurovision with you.
And what a time it was. What a time it was. You loved that evening.
It was the middle of COVID. We're on our screens. We weren't allowed out. And I was watching Eurovision.
Yeah.
Good times.
Very good times. We are also here with...
Harry, where's Harry? Harry!
Oh, I'm here. I am here. Although there might be a slight delay, I'm not entirely sure. I'm a bit worried that was it the government telling you weren't allowed out, Lewis, or was it actually Mike telling you weren't allowed to go out at the Eurovision party?
Yeah, I find it hard to remember. It was definitely one of those.
You did look like you were being forced to be in, if I remember rightly.
Well, I mean, I was.
Yeah.
Both by the government and by Mike.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, so we couldn't really talk about apples without Harry being here. So Harry very kindly offered to, quote, do the research for today's podcast, which is very exciting. The research is pretty easy, I imagine, because Harry is an expert in apples. So didn't take you long, Harry, I assume?
Didn't take me long to do the research. I am something of an expert in apples. Harry Brennan Gardens, which is a wonderful local gardening company, does specialise in apple pruning. If anyone needs their apples pruned in the local area or further afield.
Do you prune the apples or the tree?
You prune a tree.
Because that might be where you're going wrong if you're pruning the apples.
Well, you'd be pruning the apples at this time of year because they're ready to eat. But yeah, no, prune the apple trees in winter so that they will have an abundance of apples during the summer and into the autumn. Yes.
There we go.
Yeah,
already learning.
Yeah, well, there you go. See, yeah. Oh, well, yeah. We could. I mean, it's not probably not the best place to start, but we could start there. Yeah, you prune in winter before the blossom comes in the spring, and then you don't touch them through the summer really, and then that's how you'll get more apples. So it's very exciting.
Okay. Now, I don't know any history of apples. The only rumours I've heard are that wherever they started, people ate them, and then they would travel, and then as humans do, they then have to get rid of the food they've eaten, and then the pips would stay in their poo, and then it would grow an apple tree, and then they'd travel a bit further up the road, and then grow another apple tree if they needed the loo. They'd just keep pooping pips, and that's how apple trees spread. Is that correct?
Yeah, and that's because it doubles up, doesn't it? Because then they can remember where they've been because the apples they've eaten is like a trail. So it's like the what's that fairy tale with the breadcrumbs that they find their way home?
Hansel and Gretel.
Yes, there's probably an apple involved in that, but anyway, yeah, no. So yeah, well, that in very basic terms, that's why the apples evolved.
Genuinely, okay.
Yeah. I mean, not necessarily humans consumption, but birds and that, and and
that would make more sense.
Yeah. So you eat the apple, and then you spread it around. That's how they propagate. But yeah. So apples, you'll realise the apples that we eat in this country, well, in fact the world, is the Malus domestica, which is a bit of Latin for you. I do like to try and higher the tone slightly.
Latin is always good. Latin's always good. My daughter's learning Latin on Duolingo, and she's reached an age now where she doesn't enjoy spending as much time with us. But we went to a Roman villa when we were on holiday, and there was Latin words everywhere, and she enjoyed it. So you adding Latin into this might make her enjoy this.
Yeah, you went to Rockbourne on your holiday?
No, we went to Chedworth, I think it was called, or Chadworth, in the Cotswolds.
Oh, very nice. Just to just to add a bit of colour there is a famous, or probably not famous, but a Roman villa was found in Rockbourne, which is a village near to where we all live in the south of England. Yeah, do you know how many different cultivars of apple there are in the world?
Oh, can we just go down into the word cultivar? I'm assuming that means like variety of some sort.
Yes, yeah. Variety, types of.
Right.
Type
Cultivar.
or cultivar or
Is that Latin as well? Because I might start introducing that into my linguistics.
Oh well, I mean it's a terminology in terms of naming fruit and vegetables and plants, cultivars. You get your genus, and you'll remember from whatever it was we were talking about not too long ago, strawberries I think it was, or possibly raspberries, that they are in the Rosaceae family, which includes the rose, but also includes the malus, which is the genus.
Are we allowed to talk about genus? Has he not been cancelled?
It's with the. I mean, it's very funny, Lewis, but it is actually with a G rather than a J. So we're on safe categories, and Mike is currently in Europe, so he's far enough away that we can safely discuss genuses without pandering to his humor.
I imagine he thinks of the word genus like he thinks of the word fallopian. I have absolutely no doubt. Just so you know, we're live streaming this, so if anyone watches it live, if they comment, it can come up on here and we can see their questions live.
Oh, that's exciting!
So
if I'd known that, I'd have combed my hair. And indeed, Lewis may have grown some, but yes. So the Rosaceae is the genus, and Malus is the no. Oh, I'm confusing myself now. Anyway, the cultivar means type of. I think that's how we got into this conversation.
So, how many cultivars are there?
Yeah,
is it
and
cultivars or is it cultivar?
Well, I mean, if you're pedantic, it's probably cultivar, but let's say cultivars.
Okay. I'll go
yes.
200.
200? Any advances on 200?
I think it's a lot more than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I reckon it's like 2,000.
Massive madness. It's actually 7,500 different varieties of.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's a lot, isn't it? But I mean, we don't. We generally just have a sort of basic sort of 5 or 6 types that you buy in the supermarket. Do you want to have a quiz? This isn't the quiz because we've got a quiz later on. But do you want to have some? Can you think of any names of apples that you buy in the supermarket?
Well, Granny Smith, the best one.
Now, Mrs. B, as we were sat watching television like yesterday evening, said, "Oh, you're doing something about apples?" And I said, "Yes." He said, "Granny Smiths are the worst ones. They're bitter. They're bitter, and they've got tough skin." And I said, "Oh, you're describing me there." But yes.
No, that's not. She's not right there. They're nice and tangy. I was going to compliment your wife because she's doing some lovely Instagram videos on her heirlooms jewelry page. And I was gonna say to pass compliments to her, but now she's insulted a Granny Smith.
Oh, have we advertised all of the Brennan businesses so far in the first 9 minutes of this podcast?
We've done what we're contractually obliged to do.
Yeah. One of her reels, did you know, got 1.1 million views. Utter insanity. But obviously, very well done.
1.1
no-
million more
no
people than
surprise.
more listen to this podcast, or certainly
Really? 'Cause
watch live.
You're suggesting that 100,000 people will listen to this podcast, which I think is probably pushing it slightly. But yes, yeah.
So- So you don't like the
TripAdvisor-
Granny Smith? Okay, so Granny
yeah,
Smith.
very
So
tough,
Lewis's
very tough
turn.
skin.
Well,
yeah, Lewis's turn.
Well, we got a Bramley tree in the gardens, so Bramley
Yeah.
would be one.
Yeah, but that's classically a cooker. Yeah, Bramley.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Brayburn. They became trendy
Yeah.
a few years ago, didn't they?
Yeah.
Never ever
Oh,
I've got
heard
yeah,
of
got a
those.
pack of Brayburn at work.
Oh,
Brayburn.
your Cox. That's
Cox.
feels a very traditional apple.
Very nice.
I don't enjoy a Cox apple. Cox's apple. Don't like it. I just think they're a bit simple.
Oh yeah.
I just think they're small. They're small and simple, aren't they?
They're small and simple. They're your classic. Your Cox's Orange Pippin, to give it its full title. Yeah, that's a good. It's a smaller variety, but a good all rounder.
Golden Delicious.
Golden Delicious. It feels very 80s, doesn't it? The Golden Delicious.
Then you got the Red Delicious, which I don't see so much of these days. I don't think, and I don't think was very nice.
No, well they yeah, well I think yeah, they did try. Well, they are making different varieties all the time by combining two. I think in the questions I looked at, the question of Pink Lady came up, and that's actually a cultivar of a Golden Delicious and something else. In Australia, they sorted that out, but yeah.
So why? Yeah, that is weird, isn't it? Why do I know we've got a question about this?
Yeah.
So I'll ask you now. Why do Pink Ladies cost more? Because presumably apples are easy to grow regardless of type.
I have 2 words for you: dynamic pricing.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Well, it's a Pink Lady is actually a brand name. It's actually got a trademark.
Oh, they've rebadged it. Right. Okay.
Like, do you know that tender stem broccoli is also trademarked?
What?
Yeah.
That is a shock. That is a shock to me. Don't by the way buy. I used to always get the Tesco stir fry meal deals, so you get like a stir fry, some noodles, and a sauce. They do a tender stem and edamame stir fry mix. And the other day we bought one. There was one bit of broccoli in it, and it wasn't tender stem anyway.
No.
And about 2 edamame beans and 95% bean sprouts.
Yeah. Your bean sprouts and your big bits of cabbage, which you don't really want in a stir fry, as far as I'm concerned.
No, whoppers. Anyway, what other types of apple?
You russet.
Russet. Now that is my particular favourite. Phil won't like it because it's got a very rough texture.
Yeah, I don't like a rough texture. Your gala,
yeah. Your jazz, which sounds a bit like drugs. So again, where's Mike when you need him? Yeah, can't think of any others. But anyway, yeah. So my point was, I think about 10 minutes ago when I was trying to make it, was that we eat very few sort of apple varieties. In regards to how many there actually are, the supermarkets tend to just push out the same ones. It's not a political feature. Phil's got his hand up.
So is that because we have decided as a country they're the ones we want to grow here, or are they ones that we can grow here? Maybe other ones grow better in better climates, or is it just that the supermarkets are making us think that this is all there is?
Yeah, it's the supermarkets pushing it. I mean, tragically, they're probably all grown in Spain or Kenya or somewhere like that anyway. So they're actually probably the varieties that will grow cheaply elsewhere. But yeah, I mean, they've probably done market research and they realise that the Brayburn is your best all rounder really, and that's so that's what people eat.
Because cooking apples in a supermarket cost so much money. Yet I've seen Lewis's pantry the other year, and he could have, he could have opened his own shop up with cooking apples, and his pantry, that time I saw it, was worth thousands. Why cooking apples so expensive? In fact, why are certain apples so expensive when they are easy to grow? I need the answers.
Well, I mean, so I think, well, you're getting into supermarkets, really. I mean, if you look at taking Tesco, for example, the Tesco Finest, you look at one of their apples and then the bog standard, I don't know what their cheap variety is called now, Rowlands or something, isn't it?
Yeah,
something like that. They're probably the same apple, but just sort of slightly smaller, aren't they? And thus the supermarkets make their money. But I do know, because I did look at it on Wikipedia, so it must be true, that the Pink Lady is a trademark of some business or other. In fact, I'll have a look at it now. It's actually the Pink Lady apple is actually called the Cripps Pink. And
well, they've done well.
Yeah. It was originally bred by John Cripps at the Western Australia Department of Agriculture, or the Western Australian Department of Agriculture. And they crossed the Lady Williams and the Golden Delicious.
Oh.
So there we are.
So when it comes to crossing, then, because I've heard of the word grafting, and I've got a question for you on this.
Yeah.
Are you happy with the term grafting?
Yes.
Cool. So you kind of splice into, I don't know, part of the tree, and then you splice off, say, a part of another tree, and then you kind of put them together and sellotape them, and eventually they hold on together, and then they merge and become friends and produce fruit that's kind of a hybrid of both the varieties of apple, right?
Yeah, so you there's two different things here. Crossbreeding. So taking that example, so Mr. Cripps has got the Golden Delicious and the Western Wonder, or whatever it was called. No, Lady Williams, beg your pardon. And so he'd have taken the pollen from one apple when it was in blossom, in flower, and put it into the flower of the other variety, and it would have pollinated, and that's called cross-pollination. And they would hope that they would then produce a different type of apple, right?
Yeah.
So, but grafting, well, there are two different sorts of grafting. There you graft a rootstock. So if you have a very vigorous tree, thank you, and then you can graft an ordinary top bit of tree onto the rootstock, and that will make the top bit grow a lot more than it would normally, because it's got a vigorous rootstock.
Oh, okay.
Right? And often, if you buy an apple tree or a pear tree, or you'll see like a funny shape, sort of about 6 inches on the trunk, and that's where the two grafts have gone together.
Well, have
I explained that clearly? I feel I haven't, but
I think you have. I've just spent the whole time thinking, is there such thing as a blood apple, like a blood orange? And then if you mixed it, you could have the bloods and the cripps and create a really exciting brand of apple. Sorry, I was really distracted by that thought for the whole time Harry was explaining something scientific.
All right, 2-pack, flipping it.
Well, that was a question. That was a question my daughter had. She said, "Why are some apples red inside? Are they blood apples?"
Well, no, but let's call them that from now on, because that's quite a nice idea. That's the inbreeding again, or not inbreeding, just the different varieties of apples have red flesh, although they're not like all red like a blood orange. They're sort of speckled, aren't they?
Yeah,
I would say.
A bit weird.
Sorry.
Could you? Was it graft?
Yeah.
The root of an apple tree that you like, say a Bramley, to a blackcurrant bush, and then make an apple that tastes of apple and blackcurrant, and thus make a simpler crumble?
No, couldn't do that, because they're not the same. genus, and it's very, and you can, I mean, it's technical horticulture. You can cross things sometimes, but it's quite rare that you can, and it's a completely different way of growing. The plant is completely different.
I
But
might try it.
what you can do, I mean, please go ahead. But I don't think you'll be successful, but you might be. I'm not gonna discount it because I can't tell you that it can't be done, but I would say it was very unlikely.
Okay.
But what you can do, just to finish off my interesting lecture on grafting, is that you can also graft branches from different varieties onto one tree. And what you do is you take a small side shoot, and you wouldn't cut it off. You'd pull it off the side of the trunk, and that would rip a bit of the bark off as well. And that's called the heel, and it's about an inch of bark. And then you cut a T into where you want to place the new branch on the other tree, and then you sort of push it in like a little pocket, and then you bind it up like you were talking about. And you can graft as many different varieties onto one tree as you like. Really, the world is your oyster there, so you can have a tree that has got 5, 6 different apples, and that's called a family tree, I
Really?
think, or something like that. But yeah. So you can do that as well.
Is that a bit like dogs? You get dogs that you can't even recognize the breed because they're about 1 million different breeds that have kind of gone together. What's that? What's the name of a dog who hasn't got a breed really? Does that begin with M?
Mongrel.
It's
Mongrel.
a mongrel.
Yeah. So you got mongrel apples. Is that what you'd be growing?
Okay, do you know what? I'm so glad you listened to what I just said. The grafting is the cross pollination.
Oh yes,
The pollen
cross-pollination,
into
yeah.
the flower. That's your mongrel dog. So yes, you
Fair.
can create a mongrel apple. Yes, so you can
Wonder if
do
that
that.
would sell well. Doesn't sound as enticing as a pink lady, but
No, but the mongrel apple, yeah, is
Feels like your value. Feels like your value brand, doesn't it? In
your Tesco
Tesco's?
value. Yeah.
so where do
Um,
apples come from, Harry? England?
all over the place.
Great. But I mean originally.
Yeah. So, well, no, I mean, no one exactly knows where they come from originally. But the word apple comes from the old English word apple, which is spelled Aeppel. Yeah, and then that comes from something called the Proto-Indo-European language. You ever heard of that?
Not recently.
No, and that comes from the word able. So they've been able to trace the word back from there. But sorry, I mean, this is incredibly boring. I've got a real sense that this is probably the most boring podcast we've done because I'm telling you all sorts of boring science.
It's actually detailed.
Yeah, well, yeah. The Proto-Indo-European language was a language that they have made up from the ancient languages of German, that sort of thing, Anglo-Saxon. They've just presumed that these words come from this other language. And if you read about it on Wikipedia, it absolutely blew my mind this morning that they've created this ancient language, sort of backtracking on the language that we already have. It's absolutely fascinating. Again, I haven't explained that very well.
Have they made it up a bit like carbon dating? Oh yes, 2 trillion years old because I burnt some of it, and so I think it's 2 trillion years old. Is it a bit like that? They just made up that this come from some imaginary language.
I mean, I think carbon dating is a proven scientific method, whereas this language does have a sort of the abstract quality to it. But yes, I'm going to say yes. Why not?
Yeah,
why not?
Good.
So
that's 2 out of 2 against carbon dating.
Yeah.
That's good.
But the word appel, I'm saying it several different ways because I can. Actually, at the time of Old English, meant all types of fruit and nuts.
Oh, okay.
Not just apples. So you imagine that apples are pretty ancient because they would tend to be the first apple that first fruit that people used. In French, of course, it's pomme, as we all know, isn't it?
Yeah, because isn't an apple expert like a pomologist or something?
Not a Pomeranian, because that is a type
No.
of dog.
No.
Yes.
I'm enjoying the music with Harry's attire.
yeah.
Well,
he's dressed as a Parisian for the podcast.
always.
It is tradition.
In my true tradition, this top has now been categorized as not being able to be worn for nights out. In fact, its last night out was a little trip to Bournemouth that we had recently, and it's now been designated workwear. So that's why I have it on today. So pomme is French for apple.
So why do Australians call us pommies then?
Because we I talked about apples a lot, presumably.
Yeah.
I don't know the answer to that.
It's got to be linked, doesn't it? Got to be
linked.
linked.
It's got to be linked. But pomme is actually the type of fruit that an apple is, which is where the seeds are sort of encased in a harder sort of frame, for want of a better word, box container, which is that sort of horrible plasticky bit you get in the middle of an apple, in the core. Yeah. And then the fleshy fruit is on the outside, getting us back to our method of it being spread around. And that is a pomme.
Genuinely, like, people just pooed out what they ate, like, up the road, and they're, oh, look, there's another apple tree.
So they they didn't poo out what they ate. I know that you have difficulty in this area, and it might actually be in this case sometimes. But you digest the apple, some quicker than others, and then the seeds are indigestible, which means they cannot be digested.
Okay.
And so then that's why they are left whole in your poo. Yes.
But so there are twins at school, Charlotte and Melissa, lovely. And one of them, at least, used to eat all the apple. And this, and didn't like just keel over. They were fine. But that's okay, is it? Like core and everything.
Why would they keel over?
All the pips. They didn't have multiple apple trees growing in their stomachs.
No, because it gets, it was let out of the system. I'm trying to think of by way of released. Jettisoned, but I think if things that are inedible, it just pass through the system and then out again. So I think the plasticky bit is probably inedible as well, and the stalk. Okay. So they would have seen it again at some later date, presumably.
They didn't mention that at the time.
No. Is it true, or is it a fable that apple seeds contain cyanide?
Yes, but in very, very small amounts. I think all sort of seeds and pips have it in a small amount. Almonds, I think, classically have a lot of cyanide in them. And when I say a lot, I mean you're not going to die if you eat almonds otherwise.
Well, you might if you've got a nut allergy. So
you might if you've got a nut allergy.
If you have got a nut allergy, then.
I mean, that's a different. I mean, you're not dying of cyanide poisoning. You're dying from whatever you died from a nut allergy. I think we'll steer away from this fairly quickly. Yes. No, absolutely
Wrong
not.
One.
It's more
one. It's next to this one.
Yes, good. Yeah. So pomme is French and probably German as well.
So why is a pomme de terre a potato?
Because that's pomme de terre. The direct translation is apple of the earth.
I remember Harry telling us this on another podcast.
See, nobody listens.
I might have been thinking about the Bloods and the Cripps at that point.
Yeah.
I usually am.
Harry, crucially, and most importantly for a lot of people, when they think apples, they want to know if their neighbour has an apple tree and apples, and the tree is overhanging your fence and the apples fall, are they your apples?
Yeah. You have the I mean you have the right. I mean, why I'm in lawyer's corner as well, I've no idea, but apparently I am. Yeah, if the any part of the tree that's
Not
overhanging,
lawyers.
yeah,
Yeah.
your side, you've got the right to cut down. Um,
Okay. Oh,
but
okay.
actually, I've said that sentence and now I've actually thought about it. But you are really you have the right to cut it down if it's on over your boundary, but you do need to offer it back to the people it belongs
Ah,
to. So actually, it may, but then possession is 9/10 of the law. So if an apple falls into your garden, then I think probably you've got the right to eat it. Yeah.
in the last couple of minutes, you've got yourself into 2 possible legal tangles.
Yeah.
We've got a question live from Neil J. And
Yeah.
Neil J says, "Is the Granny Smith apple in the UK?" So I don't know where Neil J's from,
Right.
but as far as I'm aware, the Granny Smith apple is a UK British apple, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I
It's
mean,
the best one.
I mean, that is debatable. We've had this
Yep.
question already, but yeah, I mean, it's probably well known all around the world. Well, let's find out where Neil J is actually listening in from. That'd be exciting.
That would be exciting. If he hasn't already turned off, he can let us know.
He's probably consulting a lawyer because he's stolen someone else's apples and is now deeply concerned about it.
Just treated himself some almonds. He's no longer with us.
Yeah.
Oh, he's in Australia.
Oh,
Australia.
excellent.
There we go.
Is this-
There we go.
I mean, is he genuinely from Australia, or has he just gone there from Alderhole? Is he's one of these that has moved out of Dorset, or is he a genuine?
Yeah.
It's Phil's cousin.
Cousin.
Brilliant. Oh, another one that got away. Anyway,
Oh, he's
okay, good.
escaped. He escaped the country early doors though, long time ago.
Did he?
Yeah,
Did he?
very sensible. Very sensible. It's nicer out there.
Yeah, yeah. I was also looking because apples are quite interesting because they come up in myths and legends and other stories, don't they? Apples.
Well, Adam and Eve. Was that
Well,
an
this
apple?
Oh no! Now you've if it's like QI, there'd be an alarm going off here.
Oh, okay.
Yes, because
course,
it's not actually referenced in the Bible, is it, Lewis? No.
It's just said fruit. That there was an
Yes.
assumption made of apple, but which maybe goes back to Harry's point that all fruit was called apples. Or
Yeah.
something
Well,
at one
that's
point. Yeah, but
yeah,
no, never specified. But obviously in paintings and old writings, it was assumed to be apple.
Snow
Yes.
White was the apple situation.
she got poisoned by an apple.
So Neil,
yeah.
just going back, Neil
Yeah.
has just said that in Australia they've got the pink lady, which rings true with what you said earlier
It was
about
developed.
the pink...
It's an Australian apple. That's why.
Now, I
Yeah.
feel like we should bring Neil in live here. But Neil, are pink lady apples more expensive than other apples in Australia?
Do we have a way of getting Neil on? I'd love to.
Well,
How long's he been in Australia? I'd love to hear if he's got an accent.
Oh, he's been there a long time. He definitely will. Yeah, he's hang on. If anyone wants to come on, the link is in the comments.
Yes.
I mean, are Brayburns really cheap, or really expensive in Australia? Is it gone
Good
the other way
question.
that they scramble for our cheap rubbish over here, and they get budget pink ladies? These are all good questions.
Currently, in the village where Harry and I live, you would not go short of apples. Everyone's got them out in their front gardens for people to collect.
Help yourself.
It is just help yourself. Almost every other house.
Yeah, not like where you live, Phil. And you're stealing apples in the night with
I'm
your
not.
torch.
No, although no, I did used to actually. There was one house on the same road Mike lives on actually that used to have an apple tree, bizarrely in the front garden, where it was just grass, and it was just. But an apple tree was right by the pavement. It was it's decent.
I mean, in the village where you live, there's a road called Apple Tree Close. Does it contain any apples?
It contains crab apples.
Now I've got a question about crab apples because we've got crab apples in the garden, and somebody once made some crab apple jelly and dropped it round to us, but I don't really know what you do with crab apples will they kill you?
They won't kill you. They're not very nice to eat, sort of in the raw. You make crabapple jelly with them, yeah. It's $3 a kilogram. Crikey.
What for pink ladies? That's
Aus-
cheap.
Australian dollars as well.
Yeah, because
Oh.
Australian dollars, that's what, £1.50 in English,
Yeah.
and what, about $2 in American. So that's for a kilo of apples. That seems pretty good. Pink ladies.
Very good. Oh, let's all move to Australia.
Yeah, another good reason.
Another one. Oh,
Yeah. Okay.
wow.
Okay. Right. So, have you got a quiz?
Yes. Yes, I have a quiz. I was
Okay.
yeah, I was musing on crab apples, but I don't think I've got anything else to say about that. So yeah, jelly. Jelly's your friend there.
They're quite sour, aren't they? Crab apples.
Well, yeah, and a bit sort of floury as well. They're not very nice, and
Oh,
very small.
Oh,
And it's
flowery apples is the worst.
yeah.
Consistency of an apple.
Oh yeah. I mean, really, underripe is what you need them. I mean, gum recedingly hard is how you need an apple, in my opinion.
The Granny Smith.
Your Granny Smith, yeah. Yeah. So no, I think they're not very nice when ripe, crab apples.
Right.
So if they're underdone, then they're not very nice.
You know, like apple juice, apple sauce, all of that.
Yes.
They're made by obviously mass producing, and I assume like some sort of machine will gather the apples off of the trees.
Yeah.
If you're a big producer, then they're being chucked around and then being pulped and squeezed.
Yeah.
What percentage of apple juice has probably got like maggots in? There must be a percentage of apple juice has small bugs in, right? Because they can't check the insides of every apple.
Unless you strain it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's like it's sieved into a pretty high mesh.
You're going to have maggot juice in there. If you've crushed an apple, a maggot is weaker than an apple. Therefore, you could have innards.
Would the acid in the apple dissolve the maggot?
Yeah, well, no, because it's living in there.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting point you raise, and I'm pretty. I mean, I don't wish to get a third lawsuit. I've only been on 37 minutes, and so I don't want to be sort of got at by Big Apple. So I'm going to say I presume that they've worked out some sort of system of straining out maggots and the like. But I mean, I think as a fail-safe, it must be pasteurized, doesn't it? It must be boiled up to some degree before it's put out to be consumed. I mean, you can't be alone in your worry about this. So I'm presuming that someone's thought about this before. Capella, that's a posh apple juice brand.
It is, yeah. I'll write to them and see what they say and let us know on the next podcast. What percentage of your apple juice is bugs?
Yeah, but I mean, talking of Apple products,
okay,
I think
quiz.
It might be time to do a quiz.
It's a quiz. It's a quiz. It's a quiz. It's a quiz.
So, just before we came on air, listeners, I told Phil a little fib when he said, "Have you got a quiz ready?" Because I hadn't got a quiz ready, but I've turned to and I know what you're thinking, and it's not that one. I've turned to our old friend Waitrose, and a game that we once played, and I presumably lost, about what products Waitrose has for sale online. So what I'm going to ask you to name is products that contain apples that are for sale on Waitrose.com.
Okay, just to give us a bit of thinking time, I asked you that question because I had desperately tried to prepare a quiz called Variety of Apple or Ancient Welsh Chapel. And and I had found lots of Welsh historic chapels, I found a website that listed hundreds of them, but they were all quite obviously Welsh sounding. So
Right.
pronunciation would have been an issue, and it would have been obvious because presumably there's not loads of different types of Welsh apples. So anyway, we'll do your quiz.
Okay,
So
okay.
who's going first?
Do you know what? Organise that amongst yourselves.
Go on, Lewis.
Well, so anything spelled, I presume if we lump them together, we say loose apples generally.
Loose apples brackets general.
Yeah.
I'm going to allow that.
So is that
because that's
disqualified
for sale.
the right like cultivars?
I feel like we're going to go down somewhere we've already been. Otherwise, of just naming.
Yeah,
varieties of apples.
and no, God forbid we repeat ourselves. So so loose apples. I'm taking all varieties of loose apples now off the board.
Okay, apple sauce.
Apple sauce is there.
Okay. Apple juice.
Apple juice is there.
Apple crumble.
I'm pretty sure that's there, but I'm just going to apple crumble.
Apple pie.
Apple pie next to apple crumble, so I can verify that immediately.
Okay.
Well, blackberry and apple crumble actually, just to cross all the T's. Yes, Phil.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna go for apple slices, like in the quick pack at lunchtime.
Oh, apple slices at the quick pack at lunchtime.
You know, like you get pre
Yeah.
cut.
Yeah.
Definitely get them in the Tesco's. Would you get them in a Waitrose though?
Oh yeah, this is a good part. I mean, they have. I mean, the problem with this quiz is they have a lot of Apple products. But yes, they are there. Yes.
Right. Waitrose. I reckon some dried apple.
Oh no, that was my next one.
Yes. Apple rings.
Yeah.
This has put me in quite the predicament. At this time of year, and you're on the Waitrose site,
Yeah.
I'm going to go for, quite bravely, maybe foolishly,
Oh, crikey.
toffee apple.
Oh, good. Very good.
Oh, do you know what?
I don't know when Halloween is. I never remember, but I've got a feeling we might be slightly too early. Although they've got Christmas chocolates out, so toffee apples here, at least in this country, are a Halloweeny thing, aren't they?
They are a Halloweeny thing, and I was in where was I? Home Base the other day, and they've got all their Halloween stuff out already.
Oh,
Which I
okay.
thought was very early.
Have Waitrose online.
Yeah. I'm not seeing it at the moment. I've got to be honest.
What are you? An idiot sandwich.
Yeah, I can't see them. I cannot see them.
I'm so sorry.
Oh,
well
dear.
done, Lewis.
Oh, thank you. Oh, I had loads more as well. The one
Oh,
quiz where I had more answers.
So what else? What else did you have?
Cider.
Cider. Yes, absolutely.
Apple strudel.
Apple strudel.
Yeah, gotta have an apple strudel. That's a good one. That.
Yeah.
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 Cider apple vinegar.
Oh yeah. Sour apple chewits. One of the
Sour
favourites of one of my children.
Yeah, I don't think you buy chewits in Tesco's. I think
No,
you might have been in a bit of.
Then I hit apple sours. That's the drink, which doesn't feel like a very Waitrose product.
Yeah,
No, absolutely not.
No.
Crikey, I'm into Apple earpods now, so I don't. Yeah, I think.
Oh yes, we
although
should have
you
gone
had-
down the Apple.
You
route.
could have had them.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think you'd have lost you it,
Right.
Lewis.
Ah.
Overconfidence. But anyway, congratulations, Lewis,
Thank you.
Yeah.
on winning the Apple-based quiz.
Yeah, well done, Lewis. Well done. Should we have some listener questions?
Go on then.
Okay, Harry, you know that most of these are aimed at you.
Yeah, that's fine.
Good. because me and Lewis, I don't know what we're going to contribute here, if anything. So, firstly, do you think, this is from Andy and Claire, do you think that the Honey Crisp is the best apple or the Fuji apple? For me, it's the Fariki Paleo variety.
Yeah.
He says, forget that Granny Smith rubbish, which seems harsh.
Well, I do agree. I do agree with that. I'm going to be honest, I never heard of any of those apple varieties. I know he likes to ask questions that are going to trip us up. Well, he's well and truly tripped me up this week because I've absolutely no idea.
He's in New Zealand, so he's probably got.
He?
Yeah, so he's probably got New Zealandish apples that he's listed there. I like the idea of a Fariki Paleo, but
I have heard of a Fuji apple, but I've never consumed. I know. No idea at all.
Hard to give a definitive answer there then.
Yeah, can't do that, I'm afraid. So that's one question I haven't answered. Sorry.
Okay, so that's one down. Let's see.
One down, yeah.
We've got a question from Joe. And Joe says, can there be anything more disappointing than taking a first bite into an apple you expected to be lovely and crisp to be faced with a mouthful of, in her words, pap?
Oh, Joe, I quite agree. I couldn't agree more. It's absolutely the worst. I tell you, I think a soft pear is more disgusting than a soft apple. So, I mean, if you were going to force me to eat one of them, but yeah, no one likes a soft apple. Apples that have been stored over winter in an outhouse. Oh God, they're always disgusting. What's the point? What is the point?
But you store them. Like you store them in newspaper, don't you, Lewis? So they don't go.
Yeah. So they say, but you definitely lose a few over the winter.
Okay.
Yeah,
I have to. I'm a big fan of. You have to cut your apples up. You got to cut them, not just bite straight into them. Then you get a clue of the consistency of the inside. And I also have a slight weird allergy with apples, which if I bite them straight from the tree and bite into them, they make my lips go really hard and tingly. I've got a slight allergy. But if I cut them up and pop them straight in without touching my lips, I'm absolutely fine. I don't know if this is a made up thing, but it definitely happens, and my family laugh at me.
Like the pineapple that actually slowly eats away at you when you eat it. Yeah. Maybe it's like that with particular cultivar of apple.
Yeah, it doesn't last long. It's not very, but it's a strange. If anyone's ever heard of this or suffers from this affliction, please do.
Do write in. I've never heard of that, but maybe there's just some sort of chemical on the. So it's the skin, is it? You think, or
I think it must be. I think it must be the skin,
the flesh.
Yeah. When you're cutting your apples up, you're not peeling them and then cutting.
No. But when you put them in, it's not touching the outside of your lips.
But I get this with apples. I get that my teeth feel sharper.
Yeah.
Do you get that?
That is definitely the acid. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Joe has controversially asked 2 more questions. Did everyone as a child fearfully believe they would grow an apple tree in their stomach if they swallowed a pip?
Well, you did, but
I feared it. I feared it for poor Melissa and Charlotte.
Oh, poor Melissa and Charlotte. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, I think. That's probably something that parents tell their children, isn't it?
Yeah.
To try and stop them eating it.
Yeah. I once swallowed a peach stone, which scared me.
Yeah.
Oh gosh! I mean, that's a different ball game altogether.
Yeah. I mean, that is very rough. I mean, not only is that rough, it's also got the sharp bit at the bottom. That could
absolutely
could have lacerated your insides.
Don't run around with football in the garden while eating a peach.
Yeah.
I've got sorry, I don't want to dwell on this, but how was that when it came out?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It can't be as bad as you imagine because I have no recollection of that.
I mean,
I once ate a 20p.
Oh, yeah.
At a blue light disco in Cranbourne.
Of course. What does that?
Do you remember the blue light discos? Blue light disco, and I had 20p change, but I had no pockets because the clothing I was wearing was too fashionable to have pockets to attract girls.
In the leggings again, Phil.
You use nature's pocket your cheek. Brilliant.
No, so I had bought a packet of Walker's cheese and onion crisps for 30p, and I'd had 50p with me.
Yeah.
And so I put the 20p in the bag of crisps because I didn't have anywhere else to store it. And yeah, I didn't die. I just like, when you tip it all up at the end, I just swallowed it.
I was going to say, I hope you didn't crunch it. Whew, that would have been a trip to the dentist.
Yeah, I don't remember that coming out either.
No. I mean, getting back to the peach stone, I mean, you do not want that to be breached, do you? You want that flowing out as nature intended.
Yeah.
Oh,
and if there's a little bit of cyanide in an apple, Pip, I don't know how much there is in a peach stone.
I mean, yeah, you're going to wish you were dead. I mean, you might actually be dead. Yeah.
Gosh, that's grim. Joe says, how many apples a day do you actually need to keep the doctor away? And Harry, do you want another lawsuit? Just tell people, and then if someone has to go to the doctor and they've eaten that many apples, you'll be in trouble.
And, well, I mean, you can eat too many apples, and my son can testify to this because he's a bit of a fruit fiend. Oh, and some of those outcomes are not great if you eat too many. Explosive. So there's probably one or two, possibly.
Okay, cool. Christian says, I have to peel apples nowadays as I can never get the wax off. What are the chemicals that they cover apples in? You wouldn't do that because you're a gardener, Harry.
Yeah, I'm an organic gardener. I wouldn't be putting any wax or. I've never heard of that. I know you can get wax on lemons, but I've never heard of waxed apples.
They're very shiny. Some of the ones you get in like your finest brands.
Oh, I like to shine them on my top. Yeah,
they've been polished in some way. But
do you know what? I have this vague memory of my parents-in-law telling me about this, and they now wash all their apples with soap. Yeah, there's going to be some sort of to get the chemicals off. Yeah, and then you rinse, Phil. You don't keep the soap on there.
Okay.
You idiot.
All right.
Sorry.
What are you? An idiot sandwich.
I'm glad Harry's insulted both of us now. I was feeling singled out.
But I think it's to do with keeping them for longer, I guess.
Because why is it that some apples in the supermarket, in budget supermarkets, you'll buy some apples, and within a couple of days, the kids won't go near them because they're crawling with goodness knows what. They've all gone horrid. And yet you'll buy some other apples and they'll last a lot longer. Is that because they're waxing their apples?
Could be. I mean, I think from, again, lawsuit number 4, I think a more budget end supermarkets, the fruit and vegetables are probably slightly older than you're getting in, so they've been stored for longer. But I've got no proof of that, so please sue me.
Well, I can confirm apples are waxed to protect them from moisture loss and to make them look more appealing. The wax coating is applied after the apples are harvested and cleaned when they lose their natural wax.
Oh, there we go.
Which is probably what you're allergic to, natural wax, Lewis.
Yeah, possibly. Or
crikey.
Yeah.
For a man that works around candles a lot, that's not a good look.
No.
Oh, that was another issue with the old variety of apple or ancient Welsh chapel. I thought Lewis might have an advantage. You might have knowledge of the Welsh chapels. Claire says, pink ladies every day. Well, you see, she's fallen for the hype, I think. Australian pink ladies every day. Why do kids eat them when they're cut up but not when they're whole?
Pink ladies every day?
That's an expensive house, but
well, yeah. She's married to someone who doesn't have to pay for their petrol, isn't she?
Very true. Very true.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, he sent a question in. I'll find that.
Oh, was he? But no, I think children prefer them cut up. Although I used to have to cut up 100% of apples consumed by my children, but now that they just steal them from the fridge, they can't actually ask to get them cut up. So,
hang on, reverse up there. They steal them from the fridge.
Yes,
right. Apples in the fridge.
Yeah, they last longer, Lewis. They last longer.
Do you keep apples
when
in
you
the
bite
fridge,
in? No, because when you bite in, that cold sensation would be harrowing.
Well, okay. Well, I refer you back to your previous answer of that the apples are crawling with things, so the children won't eat them. They've been scientifically proven to last longer in the fridge.
Oh, okay. Well, Claire also says that she once bit into an apple and there was a maggot inside, which goes back to what I was saying about can we
Yeah,
really
juicing.
trust apple juice manufacturers? Mike sent a question in. Here we go.
Oh dear.
Hi, Michael in Germany here. First time caller, long time listener. Looking to understand the origin of Granny Smith. Just who is this lady of mystique? Thanks very much. Can I get a signed photo?
Well, there you go. There you go. Did you hear any of that? I don't know how audible it would have been.
Oh yeah, we heard that.
Yeah.
So who was Granny Smith?
Granny Smith was a granny called Smith who lived
She was in
Oh, okay.
Australia, and
Yeah,
she was an
okay.
apple cultivator in
Yeah.
1868, named after Maria Ann Smith. There you go.
There you are.
So,
We're all learning.
yeah, well, there's quite an Australian link to apples that I've learned today.
I don't want to throw shade on you, Lewis, because Harry's already done that today. But I just googled it, and
Oh.
Oh no,
she was born in Sussex, and then she moved to Australia. To be fair,
well, there we go.
So yeah, you're right.
I did
You're
look
right.
into her childhood origins.
Yeah, no, if you wouldn't mind, I just needed her. You know, I suppose she could have played for either national team, depending on the situation. Yeah. Okay. Next question. Neil says the movie American Pie featured the apple. Are there any other movies that feature the apple? Big Apple. It's got
Big Apple.
something to do with the Big Apple, haven't there? No, I'll have a think. James and the Giant Peach.
Good.
Which is not an apple.
No.
Yeah, have a think. Have a think about that one. I've got more questions whilst you're thinking about that. Mickey says, is it okay to call the tufty bit at the bottom the bum hole? Further to that, is it okay to teach your 3-year-old daughter the old traditional song, which goes, no, we don't eat the bum hole or the seeds, to the tune of she'll be coming around the mountain when she comes? Lewis?
Yeah, Lewis. Lewis can handle this. As the resident vicar, I think it's for you to talk now.
Yeah, well, I think each parent needs to make their own decisions about what they would be teaching their children. I probably wouldn't be teaching my children that, although they're much older now, because they would definitely be going around the school lunch hall singing that song.
Yeah, that is the problem.
I don't want that phone call from the parent for the parent from the teacher. Yeah. I would say avoid.
You can watch the film The Apple Dumpling Gang on Disney+.
Yeah, we've all just Googled Apple movies. Come on,
fine,
we're fine.
Okay.
I mean to answer Nikki's sort of slightly tongue-in-cheek question, that it's actually not the back bottom, but possibly the front bottom that the bottom of the apple is. If you're talking, biologically.
Oh goodness! If only we had Mike here.
Yeah, because that bit at the bottom is actually where the flower was, so the pollen goes in there, pollinated by bees or whatever. So yeah. There you go. Yeah.
Right. So the next question, Charlotte asks, "Why does an apple taste better when you cut slices off and eat it as you go?" Well, I think it must just be that you don't have to get like, the gums involved. Gums are heavily involved in the biting of an apple, aren't they? It always goes up there.
Yeah, and you can be. I have heard that some people are allergic to apples, and they make their lips their lips go big.
Absolutely, that's why they're better cut up.
Yes.
Why did Charlotte's parents never buy her toffee apples? Apparently, they were bad
because
for her
they were
teeth.
mean.
Mean parents. There
Mean
we go.
parents. I think toffee apples are overrated.
Oh, do you?
Because and a waste of money, really. Because you eat the toffee and that's fine, that's acceptable. But no one ever ate the apple underneath, did they? They just threw that away.
Yeah, because it's gone horrid inside. Like, unless you're a good, and I don't like to keep going back to the Australian hero that was Granny Smith, but unless you've got her inside, you wouldn't, a softer apple like a gala wouldn't survive being covered in a red toffee, strangely coating. Okay, what else have we got here? Michaela says, should apples live in the fridge or the fruit bowl?
Fridge. It's been scientifically proven.
Yeah, but you probably put ketchup in the fridge as well, though, don't you?
Yes.
Wrong
But
again.
that's got nothing to do with apples.
No,
Granny Smith had 2 seasons at Brighton as well, which is quite exciting.
Sorry, Granny Smith's mum had what?
2 seasons at Brighton before she moved to Australia.
Oh, did she?
Just read it just there, yeah.
2 seasons?
Yeah, 2 seasons at Brighton.
Brighton
Brighton
Albion?
Yeah, I just read it. It's a
Right.
very early ladies team.
Great. I wonder if she was named Granny or if she was a granny. So she was named.
Yeah,
it
so
once
she. Do you know what?
grandchildren.
I actually.
What's her actual name?
I've just made that up, but the real reason she's called Granny is because she looked prematurely old. Do you remember Clive Dunn that was in Dad's Army?
Yeah.
The old guy. He was only about 45 when he was in Dad's Army, but he looked prematurely old.
Oh, there's hope for me yet.
Yeah,
Okay.
so perhaps she definitely looked prematurely old, and that's why she was called Granny. It was actually very rude, and she had several years of therapy about it because it upset her. But the name stuck, and if you're universally known for creating the worst apple in the world, I mean, you have to live with these things.
Honestly, I can't believe I was going to compliment your wife. Anyway, Nick says, why are pink ladies so ludicrously expensive? It's because they're coming from Australia, Nick.
Yeah.
From Australia.
I mean, I was just thinking, I mean, the Australians have a lot to do with apples, and they do have the audacity to call us poms. So I think it should be the other way around.
What do we call them? Cricket wise,
no.
not just don't just slander Australians. You've already got enough lawsuits.
I don't know. Well, the Aussies, I suppose.
Imagine that. Like, I just find it insane that punishment was you used to get sent to Australia. That would have been amazing. Like, you deliberately do stuff wrong just to get shipped off there.
It's related to cricket as well. So when you get an apple off a tree and you rub it on your sleeve, it's a bit like a cricket ball, isn't it?
Oh, you can pretend
join up a cricket ball and you can bowl your apple.
True.
Yeah.
Very true. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Right. Any more questions?
If you could blend 2 existing apple varieties together to create a new apple variety, which ones would you use?
Well, desperately thinking of a humorous joke here, but
I would merge the Cox's apple and a Braeburn to make
a burnt Cox. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes,
right. Okay. Hilarious. Dave says, is apple sours the greatest shop-based alcoholic drink for a person born before 1990? I mean, really, we need Mike because he knows about these things, and he can obviously drink this apple sours when he's on his 50th episode. But
I don't believe I've ever had it, but I do. It was always there, kind of on the shelf behind the bar. But don't think I've had it.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to say no, Dave. I don't think it probably is. Harry, do you care?
I wasn't listening then.
Any other business?
Okay. Have I got any other business? No, unless any of you know any good law firms I need to get in contact with fairly quickly. Oh, I don't know. I'm not saying anything rude, have I?
No.
So.
I've got a question for Harry, a gardening-based one.
Yes.
So our apple tree, which I call the magic apple tree because it has basically fallen over, but still producing a good crop of apples. And other people have told me this as well. Why do I get a good crop of apples every other year? Is that actually a thing? But it seems to have been the case since we've lived here.
Every other, well, I don't. Well, I mean, so it may not be every other year, but I mean they do have off years, which is due to climatic conditions.
Okay.
If you get a late frost when the blossom is out, then that can cut the flowers.
This year appears to be a good apple year.
Yeah, but then I mean, it depends. It depends where the tree is. So if it could get hit by a frost, that would reduce it down. But I know other apple trees that just produce every year, so it's yeah.
Can you cover an apple tree in felt, or is it a bit too big?
Felt.
Well, that sort of
It's
felty stuff.
the base of a snooker table. You can cover it in fleece. You think
fleece?
Fleece.
That'll do it.
Yeah, you can do that, but I mean that you're gonna need a lot of fleece.
Always good at Christmas. Feliz Navidad. Anyway, Neil says convicts are the POMs sent to Australia.
Yeah,
So,
I was going to say that you call the convict sometimes in cricketing parlance.
Yeah, cool. Right, gents, we better go because some of us have got to get back to work, and Harry's got to find a lawyer. So, thank you very much for listening and joining in on the live feed thing if you did, and have a good week. Take care. Bye.
Goodbye.